We see a similar thing with Noah. He's described as being a perfect man in his generation. He builds the ark, gets his family on board, saves all the animals, and yet he's still not a perfect man. After the flood, his son finds him naked and drunk within his tent from the wine that he had grown. So he's a man with flaws. He's a man, even despite his ability to save many people and be a good instrument and be a follower of God with strength and faith, he still lacks. He's still imperfect. Which is really reassuring. I mean, that's really reassuring for us. It's like, not only do we not have to be perfect, it's not expected of us to be perfect. It gives me great courage to put out videos like this and fail and try to do something despite my addictions, despite my imperfections, despite my mood swings and doubts. I, by these stories, feel the courage to create, to do something. And I think it can be reassuring to all of us. Not that we shouldn't strive for perfection and really go out on faith. And I mean, and the thing is with these guys, they are making mistakes, but they are genuine men of faith at the same time. They are really deep, genuine believers. They're prophets. They are saviors. They are role models, despite their imperfections. But it's with the state of genuine faith. So it's not just, I'm going to go out there and cause a bunch of trouble and make mistakes for its own sake. And I think even seeing these things as mistakes is a sign of conscience, is a sign of following God. You know, Christ is always saying, if you had not known your sin, you would have no sin. But now that you know, it is counted as sin. So to see these things as mistakes is a product of being in the Spirit of God. And also, these mistakes should not just be, it's okay to make mistakes, but also a reflection of, how can I avoid making the same mistakes? How can I learn from that? How can I grow in faith and in God through these mistakes that I've been making? And, you know, Christ's crucifixion it's like the ultimate mistake. It's the one thing that really never should have happened. It's humanity's failing. It's our biggest failing as the human race. I mean, the perfect man was put to death. So it's a reflection. I mean, the Christ's cross is a reflection of all our imperfections. And it's also a sign of mercy that despite those imperfections, we are forgiven, we are redeemable, we are in our depths made in the image of God, still made in that image of Christ, despite our imperfections. It's a saving grace through which we can be lifted up. And even after the resurrection, even after Pentecost, the apostles were still bickering with each other. Paul is still calling himself the greatest among sinners. The saints always saying that there was more to be repented for. Even the perfect people are imperfect. It's a wonderful lesson to be learned from all these people who have messed up in the Bible. The Bible gives a very real view of humankind. It doesn't sugarcoat it. It doesn't, and that's why it's truth. And that's why the cross is the truth, because it is the reflection of all of our iniquities. And these words tend to be cliches, but they are true. And it is redemption. Forgive me if I'm sounding a little repetitive. It's nature of speech. I like to emphasize things that are important, and I tend to repeat it. I mean, even in, Peter's denial at the cross too, and that's, it's the most subtle of sins. It's this denial right at the minute when he needed to affirm the whole story of the Passion. It's every step along the way making these mistakes. It's the mistakes of the Pharisees delivering him to the Romans. It's the failings of Pontius Pilate asking what is truth. It's the failings of Simon Peter at the gate. It's the failing of the apostles abandoning him. The failures of Judas Iscariot. But still we're redeemed. But still, despite that, we have a place in creation. And, it's in, I don't remember where it is, in Gospel of John, I think, talking about Christ did not come to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved. And that's a very important line. It's a line I think about a lot, because it does seem, it would almost seem obvious that us killing Christ would be the ultimate condemnation for us, that we are completely irredeemable, that the perfect man came to mankind to bring us up, to elevate us, to bring the kingdom of heaven, God in history, and we rejected it. Collectively, we all rejected that. And that is pretty obviously a condemnation. And I think many people still consider that a condemnation. And it's could be one of the reasons why some Christianity is so condemnation focused. But he comes back from the dead. He passes through that, is raised up for our edification, for our forgiveness, that we are forgiven despite all that. And we are then given the opportunity to imitate that and bring that into the world, and to give that spirit to others, and to be the embodiment of that forgiveness. The mind goes to Job as well in talking about mistakes or not mistakes. Job being the example of the closest thing to a perfect man they could be at that time, and yet being, his family's killed, his land is destroyed, he's got boils, and he's in the dirt, and his friends are mocking him, and it's all for no mistake of his own. So sometimes we're punished, or it seems to be punished, for things that are out of our control, even for our virtues, and then God's mercy at other times comes in and forgives us and glosses over our imperfections, our mistakes. And there's a lot of mercy. Mistakes also manifest the mercy of God, of doing all of this wrong many times a day even, and having the mercy of God go beyond that, to gloss over our mistakes, to take them and absorb them, that God is able to absorb all of our mistakes and turn them into something holy, and remove them and make them less frequent if we're willing to learn from them. And it is a clause of if we are willing to learn from them, because if we're not willing to learn from them, what are we doing? Why bother having faith at all? We don't have to do it perfectly, but we gotta at least try to do it perfectly. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, much love to you. Thank you for watching. And yeah, that's it. I'm out. Done.